Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art and culture, and this is Billboard Breakdown. I was expecting this week to be busier than it is. I mean, sure, it wasn't exactly a quiet week. We got a new number one, a bunch of new arrivals, and some considerable jumps around the chart, but I was oddly expecting more. Turns out one of the biggest factors that I was expecting, Kanye's big release of The Life of Pablo, actually made no impact on the chart this week because he kept it title exclusive, which Billboard doesn't count. And as for the Grammys, well, maybe it's just me, but with a few exceptions, it actually seemed a little bit more reasonable than I was expecting. And as with last week, some of the biggest news might have come in our top 10, where before the video even dropped, Rihanna and Drake leapt to the very top of the charts with Work at number 1. I still don't get why people actually like this song, especially when there was far better songs on that album, but it took the top in streaming, picked up big sales, and grabbed a huge radio push to boot. And the second that video hits YouTube, assuming it's not a title exclusive, she's probably got that slot sewn up for the next couple of weeks. Granted, she's also got the benefit of some surprising weaknesses. The first being Love Yourself by Justin Bieber being pushed down to number 2, which might still rule airplay and is about even in sales, but it slipped on streaming enough to get pushed back. Stressed Out by 21 Pilots falls into a similar issue at number 3. Gains on streaming, strong airplay and sales, but its lack of YouTube is holding it back. Then we've got Sorry by Justin Bieber at number 4, but this would have fallen regardless of Rihanna, as despite YouTube dominance, it's losing airplay and sales are getting weaker. Then we got our continued sales leader at number 5. My House by Flo Rida, which spent the week gaining streaming and major airplay. It's gonna be a contender for the top in coming weeks, trust me on that. Then we've got the slight recovery for Pillow Talk by Zayn Malik moving up to number 6, which recovered YouTube, sales, and even a bit of airplay to show that it might actually have some legs behind it. It was enough to push back Hello by Adele down to number 7. But again, that would have happened anyways thanks to hemorrhaging airplay and streaming, with only good sales and dominant YouTube keeping it where it is. Then we have 2 releases that haven't moved at all. Me, Myself, and I by G-Eazy featuring Bebe Rexha at number 8, thanks to strong streaming and sales to compensate for pretty much zero airplay, and Roses by the Chainsmokers featuring Roses at number 9, which seems to be wavering on sales and streaming as airplay begins to slow down. And finally, we've got a new top 10 entry, Cake by the Ocean by DNCE. Now, I can't tell you how much this song irritates the piss out of me, but what I find intriguing is that the public seems a little bit gun-shy in this song too. Big streaming, sure, but sales have been slow and airplay is only incremental. It got up this high, but I'm not sure how long it will last at that height. And on that topic are losers and dropouts. Only 3 in the latter category that are really worth mentioning. The Fix by Nelly and Jeremiah, which was on its way out anyway. Where They From by Missy Elliott and Pharrell, which I'm amazed held on as long as it did. And finally, Watch Me by Silento is gone. And honestly, I got no real complaints about our losers either. As expected, Adventure of a Lifetime by Coldplay tumbled back to 28, Watch Out by 2 Chainz stumbled back down to 91, and Bang My Head by David Guetta, Sia, and Fetty Wap skids back down to 93. All songs that had some brief spurts of momentum before just running out completely. Of course, then you have the songs that never seem to die, the biggest being Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars actually returning the charts at 22, in this case thanks to the Grammys. I don't expect it to really stick around for another week, but it's still not a bad song to come back, I gotta be honest there. And of course, country radio got a bit of a bump with Humble and Kind by Tim McGraw going back to 88. But of course, the real news is in our gains, most of which you can point to the Grammys and just walk away. The Weeknd got 2 big ones, with Can't Feel My Face getting another win to 32, and Acquainted jumping up to 82. But by far the biggest boost went to James Bay and Let It Go, which vaulted up to 38 despite probably being one of my least favorite songs from his debut album. Hell, it also probably helped up Tori Kelly push Hollow up to 68, or Carrie Underwood's Heartbeat went up to 42 thanks to the Grammys. But then again, country had a bit of a busy week regardless, with Little Bit of You by Chase Bryant rising off its debut to 89, and Somewhere on a Beach by Dierks Bentley boost up to 87. Our last 2 gains are following off a momentum that I'm amazed they have in the first place. 7 Years by Lucas Graham by being pretty damn great, and Needed Me by Rihanna for having a hook that gets more grating every single time I hear it. Seriously, Desperado would have played just fine to mainstream radio. You could have released that song instead. It's awesome instead of this. But enough of me complaining about what might have been. Let's instead focus on what's here now with our new arrivals, starting with number 98, That Don't Sound Like You by Lee Brice. So on the the topic of country songs that dropped months ago and are only now catching fire on the radio, we have Brice, an artist who I've always struggled to like more than I do. Like Kit Moore, he tends to play on the rougher side of guitar-driven country rock, but I've always found his vocals are a little over-soul, which can kind of rub me the wrong way when the lyrics aren't quite as sharp as they should be. And in this case, while I definitely like the more spacious mix and a pretty slick guitar melody that plays off that piano and stuttering drum line, the jerky flow of the song doesn't really help the lyrics come across any better, basically getting a call from an ex where she doesn't sound like she used to, having changed in order to satisfy her current partner. In other words, this is Brice taking a crack at writing hotline bling in country, and honestly doing it a little bit better than Drake, but I can't help but feel that Brice should just mind his own damn business. Yes, it sucks if somebody's compromising their happiness with a partner, but since she's framed as his ex, it's hard not to see the ulterior motive here. So as it is, while I don't hate this, I also get the feeling that some sharper writing could have saved the song and made it better than just kind of okay. Number 92, Promise by Kid Ink featuring Fetty Wap.
I promise you stay. You're going me to stay. I promise to be great. I promise you stay. I promise to be great.
Oh, perfect. Two of the most limited writers in modern hip-hop teaming up, and really it's better than it has any right to be. I'm definitely not wild about the production with the very brittle synth tones and the odd hollowness over the entire mix, which doesn't flatter anybody, but the content is surprisingly endearing. Mostly as Fetty Wap anchors a hook where he promises to stick with this girl. Sure, it borrows from My Way, but it's probably the better song here, but Fetty Wap fits much better in this zone anyways. As for Kid Ink, I did kind of like how Kid Ink slides into a similar commitment directed at his real-life fiance, although I suspect half of it is out of convenience. He just doesn't have time for a side bitch anymore, and half is out of fear, because this girl is gonna go kill Bill on arrival. Granted, Kid Ink is doing his best slurred over Fetty Wap impression on the bridge with too much auto-tune. That was pretty awful, but overall, song's okay, I guess. Number 86, Think of You by Chris Young featuring Cassadee Pope.
Those memories that nobody can erase. Of how bright we burned, well now it hurts, but it's true. When they think of me, they think of you.
So I'm sure that just like me, you all forgot that Chris Young dropped the country record last year. It wasn't a bad album, but generic production and writing held it back from actually connecting with me on any level. But that being said, here is probably the best track from that album. Here, Chris Young teams up with Cassadee Pope, who you probably remember most from The Voice, to play against a pop country rock that's honestly a little bit too chipper to carry melancholy all that well. And honestly, that melancholy in the lyrics comes with going back to meet old friends at a bar who remember you best as a couple, where that's where the most pathos of this song comes through. And yet even then, Jake Owen did this far better with Life of a Party 3 years ago. Think of You, it's cute, but it's also lighter than it should have been. It doesn't really give me enough to invest in either character. There's not a lot of detail in the lyrics. It's good, but overall, it's no surprise that I probably forgot about it. Number 85, Might Be by DJ Luke
She
Nasty.
don't need smoke, but she swear I got that dope dick. Love it when I fuck her in 'em. Hey, high sex is the best sex. Whenever she stressed, she just wanna get. Well, get high, baby. Get high, baby.
Okay, if you're like me, you probably picked up the most recent album from Anderson .Paak back in January, Malibu, and spent most of that month enjoying the hell out of it. It's great genre-bending music with a ton of groove that only gets better every time I hear that album. In a better world, it would be all over the charts. Instead, a California-based DJ that nobody's ever heard of before sampled one of his earlier songs from his album Venice, and is now blown up enough to hit on the Hot 100. And let me stress this, the Anderson .Paak version runs circles around this song. Mostly because Anderson .Paak's got a ton more groove and vocal personality, but setting the great sample aside, this is okay. At best. The flow is bare bones, the content is as basic as weed songs go. Really, the only reason to care about this song is that sample, and Anderson .Paak did way more with it. He's just a much more compelling presence. So yeah, listen to that over this. Although, with my luck, this is gonna become a huge hit and screw over one of the most promising talents of the past few years. Go figure. Number 83, Never Forget You by Zara, Larsson, and MNEK. So So ever since I started World Hit, I've been getting requests to cover this song in particular, but I knew that given how huge it was all over the world, it was only a matter of time before it crossed into the Hot 100, even if it was months late. So, introductions to these two. Zara Larsson is a young Swedish pop singer, MNEK is a British electronic pop singer and producer, and this is the crossover hit that the rest of the world has had for the past several months. And yeah, this is definitely a really good song. Zara and MNEK have great chemistry, the underlying piano does a ton to anchor the track melodically, the lyrics do a solid job capturing the complicated emotions that come when the relationship falls through for all the right reasons and then gets pulled back together, but I don't know, the drop on the song feels a little bit thin to me, especially when both are just belting their lungs out. That tapping skitter of a beat and rattling subtle beat there just feels a little bit underweight, trying to capitalize on a sound and percussion that doesn't fit them as well as it could. I definitely like this song, but it might take a while for this to really grow on me for me to really love it. Although, yeah, I'll definitely recommend it. Number 81, Cheap Thrills by Sia featuring Sean Paul. So, of course, after Sia releases her best song from This Is Acting, she follows it up with one of the worst. And of all the people she could have brought in for support, she got Sean Paul. Okay, for those of you who have no idea who this guy is, he was huge about a decade ago. His last relevant song in the US was probably 5 years ago, and he's the reason that I don't actually dislike this song. Yeah, I'm actually a little astounded at how well this comes together. I still think Sia's attempt at Caribbean flavor falls really flat, and the vocal production does her zero favors, and the lyrics are really nothing special, but Sean Paul's got a certain effortless charisma to his delivery that allows you to skip over the fact that he's nearly not saying all that much. So yeah, if this is the remix that actually gets popular and gets some chart presence, I can tolerate this. It's not bad. Number 77, All I Ask by Adele.
What if I never love again?
Okay, look guys, I like Adele, and I like it when she makes piano ballads. But for everyone who says that Adele can occasionally recycle a formula, that is this song. The piano melody doesn't really evolve much beyond that 3-note progression until a really nice little notes near the end. The lyrics feel a little bit tepid as she pleads for one last night together before they end things with this guy. I can't help but feel that Marianas Trench nailed this underlying sentiment way better on One Love. And let's be honest here, if you give this song to Bruno Mars who co-wrote it, not a lot really changes here. Yeah, the key changes are really nice here, but Adele has much more interesting tracks than this on 25, and I sincerely hope this isn't being positioned as her next single, because, honestly, I don't get a lot out of this. Number 54, finally, Make Me Like You by Gwen Stefani. Okay, am I the only one who feels that Gwen Stefani's solo revival feels a little bit weird here? I liked a lot of her solo work in the 2000s, but Used to Love You fell really flat for me. And while she does go in this direction, no doubt replaced her with the frontman of AFI, so okay. So, do we get anything new out of this? Well, let me start by saying that Gwen Stefani is a naturally gifted performer and she can easily vamp like nobody else, especially considering the music video. She did this live at the Grammys. It's just that everything else about the song really frustrates me. The lyrics, for one, really don't do much, even though they're focused on Blake Shelton. Gwen Stefani's one of the few who can walk that line between being exasperated and truly love-struck. She's got that vintage flair, but outside of that, the writing is pretty bare bones. And that's where we get into a lumpy, retro disco groove that actually dug on the verses before we get a really gummy synth line slathered over what could have been a lot tighter. And then that synth just keeps coming back when it shouldn't. Now, a lot of Gwen Stefani songs can be garish and overmixed, especially in this vein, but this is one of those times where it actually compromises the groove, not like Sweet Escape, for instance. And that's what pushes it away from me towards maybe mediocrity. In other words, while I don't hate the song, I can see myself really getting sick of it in record time if it sticks around. So that was this week, and for the most part, there wasn't anything that terrible. Even arguably the worst song Might Be by Luke Nasty, still built on some solid production that I do like. With Dishonourable mention going to Probably Make Me Love You by Gwen Stefani by not being as well produced or as well written as it should have been. As for the best, that's tricky too, because I didn't see any real standouts here either. But I'm giving best to Never Forget You by Zara, Larsson, and MNEK, and honorable mention to Think of You by Chris Young and Cassadee Pope. I don't know, folks. I feel like I'm grasping at straws a little bit here. Not really a lot really impressed me this week. Let's hope for more variety and quality next week. But till then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.